There existed an era, guarded within the folds of time and myth, where the boundary between heaven and earth was but a thin, vibrating veil. In that time, before the great stone circles of Atlantis broke the horizon, and before the mind of man learned to dissect the universe through geometry and logic, there lived a mother, a floating cradle of light called Lemuria, or the Kingdom of Mu. It was not merely a continent, but a frequency, a direct emanation of the breath of earth in love with the sky. If Atlantis represented the peak of mental power and technological mastery, Lemuria was the sanctuary of pure feeling, the place where stellar consciousness first accepted the embrace of earthly density to become flesh, sap, and song. The Lemurians were not exactly beings who arrived from other solar systems, yet they were not entirely of this world. They were the direct descendants of the stars, a living bridge, celestial hybrids whose souls vibrated at the frequencies of the Pleiades and Sirius, but whose bodies were learning to tune into the magnetic heartbeat of Gaia. Imagine beings of a diaphanous and primordial beauty, whose skin had the luster of pearls and the transparency of spring water. Creatures who did not walk upon the earth but seemed to flow through it in an uninterrupted dance of recognition with every blade of grass, every sea creature, and every crystal hidden in the bowels of the mountains. The nature of Mu was a holographic garden where the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms lived in a conscious symbiosis that we would call magical today. But for the Lemurians, it was the only possible reality. They were the guardians of a knowledge of the heart, a wisdom that is not learned in books or through machines, but is received in the silence of feeling. The Lemurians did not need stone temples, as they perceived the entire planet as a single sacred body. Their cathedrals were the forests of giant ferns and caves lit by bioluminescent fungi, where the energy of the earth flowed pure and unfiltered. In this civilization, separation was an unknown concept. The pain of a tree was the pain of the people, and the joy of a whale singing in the depths was the melody that fed the dreams of the children of Mu. They represented the incarnation of planetary love, the living demonstration that stellar consciousness could inhabit a physical body without losing its connection to the source, transforming biology itself into an act of continuous prayer. When the dawn of Atlantis broke, Lemuria was already an ancient guardian preparing to pass on a legacy. The Lemurians were the first masters of the Atlanteans, the elder siblings who taught the new seekers of light that no technology has value if it is not anchored to the knowledge of the heart. They passed on to Atlantis the secret of connection with the living earth, revealing that the planet is not an inert stage, but a sentient being endowed with its own intelligence and evolutionary desires. Without the Lemurian foundation, Atlantis could never have built its crystalline networks, for it was precisely the wisdom of Mu that explained how to communicate with the spirit of minerals. The Lemurians gave the Atlanteans the seeds of feeling, teaching them to read the winds, understand the language of water, and honor fire not as a source of heat, but as a divine presence. They were the necessary counterweight to the upward thrust of the stellar races. While Sirius brought geometry and Orion brought energy, Lemuria brought the root, the umbilical bond that made the manifestation of the divine in the physical possible. Symbolically, Lemuria represents the Edenic state of consciousness, the memory of a time when humanity had not yet donned the armor of the mind and lived in a state of naked inner truth. Their communication did not occur through the telepathy of thoughts alone, but through the telepathy of feelings. A wave of compassion could travel from one end of the continent to the other in an instant, harmonizing every divergence before it ever became conflict. The priests and priestesses of Mu, with their crowns of fresh flowers and robes made of woven light, were the tuners of the planetary empathic field. They knew that the earth is a musical being, and that their task was to keep the note of love in tune. This wisdom was the foundation upon which Atlantis built its temples of healing, where the power of colors and scents was used to realign the soul, a technique the Lemurians had perfected for millennia simply by breathing the essence of the gardens of Mu. Today, as humanity struggles to find a balance with the ecosystem, the legacy of Lemuria is awakening like a volcano of love erupting deep within our collective unconscious. Many of us feel a poignant nostalgia for untamed nature and a way of life based on cooperation and tenderness. This is the call of Mu vibrating in our blood. The Lemurians left their energetic signature in the oceans and the depths of the earth, but above all, they left it in our right ventricle, the seat of sacred feeling. They remind us that we are children of the earth as much as we are children of the stars, and that our task is not to dominate matter, but to love it until it becomes radiant. To remember Lemuria means to go back to speaking with the stones, to weep at the beauty of sunset, and to recognize the divinity in the eyes of every living being. It is the invitation to build a new stellar-terrestrial bridge, made not of metals or cables, but of filaments of light that start from the heart and intertwine with the heart of Gaia, honoring that covenant of love that our ancestors of Mu signed millions of years ago to allow all of us to be here today. Witnesses to the miracle of planetary life. Today, in an age of fragmentation and a frantic search for lost meaning, the legacy of Lemuria is no longer a mere sunken myth, but a volcano of primordial love erupting within the depths of humanity's collective unconscious. This awakening does not occur through history books, but through a poignant nostalgia that bites at the hearts of millions, a visceral longing for untamed nature, for the silence of primordial forests, and for a way of existence that is not competition, but cooperation and infinite tenderness. This is the call of Mu vibrating in our blood, an echo originating from those bodies of blue and indigo stone that once walked in perfect symbiosis with the Earth's crust. The Lemurians, with their skin like aged basalt and their black glassy eyes like obsidian mirrors, have not disappeared. They have simply transmuted their presence, leaving an indelible energetic signature in the oceans, in the depths of the earth, and, above all, within our very spiritual anatomy. There exists an occult secret, known only to the tuners of the heart, that the fathers of Mu deposited their light codes within our right ventricle, chosen as the seat of sacred feeling and the altar of inner divinity. It is here that the frequency of the mother star resonates, reminding us that we are children of the earth as much as we are children of the stars, and that our true mission was never to dominate matter with the arrogance of technique, but to love it until it becomes radiant, transmuting the density of mud into solar light. To remember Lemuria today is to perform an act of spiritual rebellion. It means returning to speak with the stones, recognizing in them our mineral ancestors who preserve the memory of the world. It means allowing ourselves to weep at the wild beauty of a sunset, feeling that the fire in the sky is the same fire that burns in our veins. It means having the courage to recognize the divine spark in the eyes of every living being, from the whales that roam the abysses to the very last blade of grass. The Lemurians teach us that the body itself is a temple of living stone, and that our indigo skin, which we still seek to rediscover in our visions, was the symbol of matter that did not oppose spirit, but was its most precious garment. We are called to build a new stellar-terrestrial bridge, an undertaking that requires no rare metals, fiber optic cables, or silicon technologies, but filaments of purest light that spring from the center of the chest to intertwine with the pulsing heart of Gaia. This bridge is a network of empathic connection enveloping the planet, honoring that covenant of love signed by our ancestors of Mu millions of years ago. They agreed to merge with rock and mud, to become part of the Earth's geology, so that we today might stand here as conscious witnesses to the miracle of planetary life. Every time we choose compassion over judgment, every time we honor the sacredness of organic life, we are reactivating that volcano of Mu, allowing the light of Arcturus and Sirius to flow once more through the channels of our awakened humanity. Thank you for following us this far, and if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to follow us on our fantastic journey through ancient lost knowledge.